everybody? So we have now hit 100 podcasts. So we're going to do our 100th podcast and talk about the past podcasts and what's happening and what's happening in the future. So don't miss it. All right.
1978とある田舎町で生まれて移り住んだ新宿で育ちこの町で起きたこれまでの俺たちのここまでの生い立ちはほんのまた序の口試されたいちいち正してきた過ち騙し合いやからしないはスニッチの始まり放課後の登山所児童館にホームアローンそんな時間はほったらかして向かったとある場所
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Yamatodamashii podcast. Welcome to episode 100. We have finally hit triple figures.
Wow.
Hell of a milestone, right? Nearly 2.5 years, I think we've been doing this.
Wow, is that how long we've been doing it?
Oh, it doesn't feel that long, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't. It feels like a year.
Yeah, crazy. I obviously want to ask how you are because you're in Hawaii news, you're in Yahoo news in Japan, like you're blowing up everywhere. But most importantly, I wanted to see how did everything go with all the earthquake relief work that you've been doing?
Well, yeah, like the last time we went up, it seemed almost like it wasn't going to go good, but it eventually ended up getting good. So what the problem is, we're going to go up next week, but there's the whole week is supposed to be snowstorms. So it kind of changes the objective to getting it to the people who need the stuff to getting it to other places that are low on supplies. And it's really good because from Twitter, I got a fan contact me, and he's directly in touch with people that live in Ishikawa. And he's actually gotten us like the problem now is there's a lot of people that are trying to get in illegally and trying to either rob or bringing stuff up to sell for a huge markup. Yeah, so what he did was he was able to get us like he talked to some politicians to let them know that we're coming. So we're going to be a car that's going to be legitimately recognized as bringing supplies to the people. And he has two places that he's going to introduce us to that are low on products. And he's going to message me tomorrow to let me know what the products are. And he's also going to message me a map of how we can get there. So it's looking really good.
That's great. Yeah. Especially considering some of the challenges you had with the last one, right? Where it was roads were closed, you were just stuck in traffic. It looked like a bit of a nightmare for some of it.
It's kind of crazy because we're getting so much people that's jumping on the whole thing. Like, a lot of people are donating to the Inoue Foundation. We have a friend in Japan, Jumanji, who actually donated some money. My best friend in Hawaii, Darren, he's got a whole bunch together. He's going to help out with them. In fact, we're going to be doing purchasing the shoes too. So we're going to do 2 back-to-back missions where we're going to purchase shoes and send them out to the orphans in Fukushima, and then jumping in a car later that night and driving up to Ishikawa. So kind of busy. Not exactly how I want to spend my last few days here before going to Hawaii, but it just happened that this whole thing happened and the timing of everything. And yeah, so it's going to be a busy week before I leave.
Yeah, when you told me you were going back, I just assumed you'd moved your trip, but like no, like you are squeezing this in somehow. I don't know how you cope with your busy schedule. It's crazy sometimes.
Yeah, who's the fool who makes the schedules?
It's an awesome thing you're doing. Everyone should check out the Enson and Sarah Foundation. It's really easy to donate. I did it myself. Super easy. Just put your card details in and send it across. And yeah, so check that out. And yeah, who's going with you? Is Koichi coming back?
Yeah, so I wanted to go with Sarah because she didn't get to go on the last one. But of course, the dogs and all that stuff here. She wants to stay back to take care of them. So yeah, Koichi, I think he invited his brother, so it might be me, Koichi, and his brother to go up. So yeah, we're gonna see so Koichi's so young. I'm wondering if to get him on as a driver might raise the insurance costs, but I mean, it might be worth doing because for me to have to drive all the way down, all the way back. Last time we actually snuck him in to drive a little bit, but I pretty much did all the driving, and I kind of rather not. It's kind of
Wow.
hardcore for me.
How many hours did you total up driving there and back in the end?
We went on the way up. It took us about 10 hours down and 10 hours back. If we went
Wow.
straight with no breaks, anything, it would be like 7 or 8 hours. But
Okay.
with
And
the
then you
with
had
the
all the
snow, we went into the mountains. There was snow, so we had to slow down. All those type of little obstacles that makes the trip a little longer than expected.
yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear that things are still progressing and that everyone's contributions have made a real difference with the stuff that you've been able to get. So that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's helping.
So as I said at the kickoff of this episode, it's episode 100, which feels crazy. It feels insane that we've actually hit quite a big milestone. We're not quite in the thousands as some of these podcasts, like the Joe Rogan podcast and others, but we'll get there.
We will. I think we will. We just keep going, keep grinding it through.
I think we will because the thing with this podcast is we don't really have like a set format. It's kind of what should we talk about? Like it's kind of like what's going on. And because of the way your life is, where just so much like I try and put this into context with people that I know that to sort of say like your life is so, and I mean this in a good way, all over the place where you just stumble into these crazy opportunities and these people you
Oh
meet
yeah,
and the stuff that's happened in the past. It's just kind of every week is something different. So we never really have like a gap in content. There's always something to
yeah,
talk about because if there's not
yeah,
something going on currently, there's something going on in the past, right? So,
yeah.
but yeah,
Exciting, exciting.
yeah, hopefully our viewers think that. I think what we find typically when we look at some of the audience trends is that people will dive in different topics. So, which I think is fine. Everyone, there's so much content out there that people kind of pick and choose what they listen to. But for the people that are kind of regular listeners, thank you very much. We really do appreciate that. We appreciate the support.
Yeah.
And we're always keen to know as well what other people would like to hear from us in the future. And we'll come on to a bit later some of the exciting stuff that we might have in the future as well. But if we look back at some of the episodes, are there any particular ones that sort of stand out to you? I know I've got some in my mind, but any particular ones that stand out to you?
Well, yeah. Of course the Thai trip to Sentience Gym was pretty big for me.
Mm-hmm.
It went a lot smoother than I thought, but it was I think for me it was a milestone to actually get there because it's been a couple years where I really wasn't looking forward to it. I mean, I did want to see the family in the gym, but I didn't know how I would take it going there to where he shot himself and that kind of stuff. So that was a little bit of a I felt like I cleared a hurdle that was in my mind the whole time. So yeah, that was a big one for me.
Yeah, it's
Reminiscing
weird.
and
Sorry.
reminiscing all the fights is something that really is interesting to me to go back and relive them all.
Yeah, the stuff we did about Santi and Noi was just a whole amazing trip in itself. Obviously, going out to Thailand, seeing that gym, and seeing like how much of a family that gym is great, and how they prospered even with like all the different with COVID, Santi M passing away. Like it's amazing to see how well that gym does.
Blowing, it's
Um,
good. Yeah.
but it's weird sometimes how the way the universe works, right? Because I remember right before I actually reached out to you about doing something, one of the first things I noticed on your social media was I think when Santiam first passed away, you shaved off all your hair with your eyebrows and that. And I remember that really kind of struck a chord with me. And so when I reached out to you, I sort of said like, really sorry to hear of your friend passing away. And then we were talking about help with like a YouTube channel. But it's just weird that was kind of like the first sort of interaction we had. I like brought up Santi Inoue, and then to kind of like 2 years later be there, see, kind of hear more about his legacy, meet the people, hear more about your friendship. and actually kind of document that whole experience. It feels weird sometimes. You know what I mean? Like how that whole
Yeah, how ironic. Yeah, little did you know you're gonna be coming up
yeah to
to with me
Thailand.
to Thailand for the first time. Yeah.
Yeah, insane. So, but yeah, an amazing experience, and some potential future stuff may happen in that side of the world, right? So, um, and you touched on it as well. The career episodes are always so good. I think personally, my out of all your fights have been super interesting, and going through and hearing your perspective in your own words has been great. And what's been even better is when we've been able to get some of your opponents on the same episode. We've obviously had Frank Shamrock, we've had Randy Couture, and that's been fascinating. Kind of hearing it, I once put it in a tweet. It's a bit like hearing the director's commentary of like hearing how it all came together. So if people haven't seen those episodes, those are definitely worth watching, just because it's fascinating from your end. But what I was curious about was, is it weird sometimes when you're talking to someone that you've actually had a fight with?
No, not really. I would think you would think that it would be,
Mm,
but I think after sharing the ring and after having that whole, that battle, I don't know. There's something about it that you feel like there's a friendship or a bond that's been made, and it's real easy to. I mean, it's weird because when I see the guys I fought, like even when I saw Andre Menard in Tokyo, it's just like it's such a nice, friendly. What's up? How you been, man? Like, wow, we tried to kill each other, about a decade ago, but how you doing? Good to see you. It's
yeah,
genuine. It's really genuine.
it's so cool. Yeah, that's the thing that I noticed every time we've done this sort of episodes. There's like almost like a brotherhood, there's
Like a
something.
reunion. It was like a
Yeah,
reunion.
really weird school reunion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, but yeah, it's fascinating to kind of hear the game plans that you guys go in with, and hearing how they kind of execute how it came off. I think I would like to see that more, in MMA in general, right? There's some classic fights, and hearing guys sit down side by side 10, 20, 30 years later is really fascinating to me. So I'm glad that we can do that on this podcast.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Um, and obviously, we've had guests as well, involved in the podcast. The coolest thing about you is that the people you surround yourself with are amazing. I've got luckily from coming to Japan, I've got to meet a lot of the people that you surround yourself with face to face. I met a lot of the Ichizoku, obviously met Sarah, we've met
Kuzo.
the guys you train. And like I always think you're blessed, with the people around you, right? And so it's been great when we've been able to incorporate some of them in the podcast as well.
And your Yakuza friends too now.
I was about to get there. Which is a great segue to one of my personal favorite episodes, was when we got to sit down and hear stories from a real life Yakuza. And he even gave me some gifts, which was pretty
Some
unreal. And
priceless.
they are priceless, and they are still presented nicely in my house. And people often ask, what the hell are those for? which always leads to a great conversation. No, I didn't earn those medals, but I certainly have them. But yeah, it's that was an amazing experience. And actually, people, will probably think like, oh, what was, people often ask me like, what was he like? Was he scary? And the truth be told, he was like the nicest guy. like super nice guy, super loyal guy. And I'm really
No,
glad to
by
have
the
met him.
way, we saw him, and he actually asked about you. He said, "When is James coming again? When is James coming?"
Brilliant. Yeah, we could do a round
Yeah,
two.
yeah. So he's actually looking forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him again too. I think the first time was kind of, we were recording the podcast. It was all kind of a bit formal, just kind of getting to know each other. But then after, we kind of had a laugh, right? So be good to spend some time with him again. Obviously, we can't name names. I'm not gonna name him on the podcast, but it will be good to see him as well. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, and we've also had, who else we've had on, which has been great guests. I mean, off the top of my head,
Rampage.
Rampage, yeah, that was great. Obviously, we did one by this means, and then we did another one face to face. Had dinner. That was such a good laugh. Walking around Tokyo. seeing you guys get recognized by various people and then Rampage chatting up some girls, which was always a
Yep.
good laugh.
That wouldn't be Rampage without that.
It would not. It would not. But yeah, hope he's doing well. I always really enjoyed the conversation with Konishiki, just because it seems like genuinely a really nice, really humble guy, but also had very kind of similar story to you and him. You share really similar stories in that kind of like just going, packing away, moving out of Hawaii, heading over to Japan, and then just falling into these
Yeah.
crazy opportunities. So it was really cool to hear and compare his story with your story. And you guys obviously been good friends for a long time, so it was nice to see that.
Another
But
big
yeah,
one
we've
for
had
me was like free.
Guy Humphreys. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that was a
because I
crazy
think
story.
that, yeah, well, in that time in my life when we were touring the racquetball tour, Guy was like, we lived together in Texas. We would meet at when we weren't living together, we would meet at every tournament. And he was kind of on the same situation as me, where we were good but not good enough to guarantee a slot into top 16, but sometimes we could pull it off. So we're in that same where we would both lose and we got bummed and go out, and just that time in my life was so special, and he was the person that really shared a big part of it with me. So actually, it's been like over a decade that I've even talked to him since I mean, before the podcast. So
Yeah,
actually getting on the podcast and getting to talk to him like on a video call on Zoom, it was like so perfect. I mean, that was one of the podcasts that really stood out in my mind.
yeah. It feels like such a long time ago. That it feels ages ago. I mean, you have to go back. I can't remember
Was
what number episode it is. I'll post it here, but it was a long, long time ago. But hearing about that crazy incident in Seattle, yeah,
that
is
was crazy.
definitely a really good story, and it was great to hear you guys. It was great to hear retell it, right? Because he actually had a lot of bits and pieces that I think you had forgotten, and he kind of brought
Yes,
it.
yes.
He was great at retelling that story. So I hope he's doing well. Hope he's doing good. And on a similar note, I always found it fascinating the episode we did with Brent Nicholson,
Oh yeah,
because
Brad.
just because his story was crazy in the sense that you put out that competition on Sherdog, I think it was, and he'd sent the tape, and you kind of sent a letter how he really wanted to come and train with you, and it was just fascinating. And then to hear kind of how like that just started something, and he was out there for quite a bit, and kept
Yeah,
coming back, and then did all sorts of other stuff as well while he was with you. So that was a fascinating episode. Um, it shows how approachable you've been with fans, right? I mean, how often
well,
do
yeah.
hmm,
I almost
sorry,
feel
go on.
like that friendship was meant to be, for how it came about and how he took to Japan, how he took to, with the whole Ichizoku, and came back, and I guess still is friends and a part of the Ichizoku. So that was something, a friendship that was supposed to happen, I feel.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, no, he really genuine, really nice guy. Hoping to speak to him again one day. Be cool. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I was just what I was gonna say was you always seem like such an approachable guy to fans. Why is that? Because you get a lot of guys that aren't like that.
I don't know, maybe in my life I've seen a lot of famous people be real snobs, and maybe because I most of my life I wasn't anyone that was a public figure or a famous person or anything. And I guess I know the feeling of those people when they see their hero or someone they admire, and they have to gather up that courage to even go say hi or ask him for an autograph. There's a you get torn between not wanting to bother them, but not wanting to miss this opportunity. So I guess maybe in a way I do know that feeling, and I've seen people get turned away, and I don't know. I just feel like it's not a no skin off my back to just take a little time off, and the amount of effort it'll take for me to do something for them, and the amount of happiness or a type of memory you'll create for them, there's no comparison. I mean, it's like that much for me, and it's sometimes for some people, it's like there's something that they'll never ever forget.
Yeah, definitely. Have you ever had any encounters where it's gone wrong?
Yeah, I remember specifically, this is one of the very rare times, but I was in Kyoto, and these Japanese people sometimes have a weird sense of humor. And this guy, after while we're taking the picture, decides to try and snatch my crotch. Yeah. So back in that, I don't know what, I really don't know what I do today, but back in that day, I was really punchy, and I straight up grabbed them, threw them on the ground, pinned them, choked them on the neck, and told them to not ever do that again. But yeah, I remember that went really bad. Other than that, shit, I don't know if there's ever a time where I've had to get mean or get rude or tell a fan to like that I can't give them a picture or autograph. I usually step out of my way and make take a picture or sign an autograph for them.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of Japanese fans are quite shy about it as well. I remember walking around with you in the Saitama Super Arena, and you just hear Enson, 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 and like they were almost kind of a bit too polite. They didn't want to like interrupt you, which is it's
Yeah, a
probably
lot of
different.
times I don't see that. Sarah tells me a lot when we walk by. It's, oh, that guy recognized you, or this guy recognized. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't. I walk by and I don't hear it sometimes. Sometimes I do hear it faintly, but you don't want to. I don't want to like jump the gun and, oh, you talking to me, and say, oh no, we're talking to you. Like, oh shit,
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't want to look like a snob and I hear my name and I just pretend like I'm hot shit and I walk by them. So there's a real fine line where I just try not to listen for stuff. And so I think because of that, not on purpose, but it happens where I don't really hear them a lot of times because I'm not trying to listen.
And another episode where I became a fan of someone that I'd never met before was the one we did with Fred from Hawaii, which was just such a like the way that came about as well. It was really cool that you managed to get a bit of closure on a crazy incident. So, for those that don't know, maybe explain just briefly kind of what happened there.
Yeah, Fred was he's still a big boy, but he was real lean and cut. And I was still I don't know what, I think I was in my 20s, I think, early 20s, I think, and I didn't really do jiu-jitsu or really train professional fighting at all. But I was really a type of guy that would stand up for myself no matter who it is and how big the guy is. And we had a little incident on the street. I mean, who was wrong? I don't know. He was crossing the street. I came too close or didn't see him or what. I don't remember exactly what it was. And he kind of hit the car or threw something on the car. And I felt, and back in, nowadays, if that happened, I would just drive by thinking, shit, I might have been too close to the guy and just let it go. But back in that day, I felt I got a little bit of a dented ego and said, how dare that guy hit my car, and decided to go out and confront him and went in to find him. And he was working in the YMCA. And I went in to find him, and he was not happy about that. He was a big boy, picked up a chair, threw it at me. And that was one of the first times ever I was like, oh, fuck, I got to get out of here. So, yeah, that was
it was a crazy incident, but I always find it mental how like you were just walking on the beach in Hawaii and then he just spotted you, right? Like, and he was like, you're Enson.
Yeah, you know the funny thing about that is I have that incident happened like over 20 years ago. Oh, wait, more than that, like 35 years ago.
Yeah.
Or more than that, in fact. Yeah, so it happened before I even moved to Japan, and I've been in Japan for 33 years. So close to 40 years ago. How the hell do we recognize each other? I mean, I'm a public figure now, so he probably sees me on the internet sometimes here and there, maybe on the news. So when he tooted the horn on me, it was real funny because he tooted the horn. I thought it was just another fan, and I kind of waved at him and everything. And he kind of kept saying, Enson, Enson. And I was like, oh, this guy talks like he knows me. It's like, oh, maybe it's somebody that I knew back in the day, but I forgot what he looked like and everything. So I walked up to his car. And then he And he looked at me. He goes, "Oh, Enson," and I'm like, "Who is this?" I'm looking at him like, "Who is this?" And he goes, "YMCA." That's all he had to say because I could right there. For some reason, I don't know why. His face. I mean, when he said YMCA, I just knew that was that guy, Fred.
It's
And
crazy.
yeah, of course, time has passed. It, things are forgiven and forgotten. And I was like, "Whoa, it's you, the guy who broke the chair on my back." He was kind of like, "No, don't say that." And so it was kind of neat because now every time I go back to Hawaii, we definitely get together and have dinner.
It's awesome.
Sometimes I get so busy at the end of my trip when I try to plan to meet him, but I get so busy that I never like the last trip I didn't get to see him, but I'll make sure this next trip when I go back, I always try to give him a call, go out to dinner with him, and catch up. He's like a really good friend now.
Yeah, that's awesome. I hope he's doing well. He's always good people.
Yeah,
And yeah, everyone should check out that podcast if they've never seen it before, because it literally was like days later after you bumped into him. So it was fresh in
yeah,
everyone's mind. So definitely worth a watch.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, we've had all sorts of names, people from your past, people like Guy Metzger we had on. We had, who else did we have? We had George Soteropoulos, it
oh
was
yeah,
it was good for you to catch up with George as well. Like we've kind of used this podcast as well as kind of a chance for you to get back in touch with some people, right? So like,
yes, it did happen that way. Yeah,
yeah.
we still got to get Egan on it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he does feel like one of the main people missing.
Yeah,
But yeah, there's a bit of a bucket list of people we need to get on. I'm still
yeah,
hoping
a lot.
one day we might even get Mr. White, Mr. Dana White on. That would be
Yeah, I'd love to
interesting.
get Dana on. I'm sure
Yeah.
he'd want to come on. There's a bunch of guys that we've been talking to. Like we want to get Mark
Yeah.
Kerr,
Yes.
Dan Hardy. Also, we mentioned it to him, and he wants to come on. There's a whole
BJ
bunch of
Penn.
guys. BJ Penn, yeah, we could get BJ Penn. It's
Chuck.
good because I get so much respect and so much love from the other fighters that I'm I'm almost confident that pretty much almost any fighter I ask will want to come on and join the podcast. So
Yeah, it with us it's just always a case of scheduling, right? I mean, for those that haven't realized, doing this in two different time zones, it's quite
Japan,
is
UK, and then maybe
and
United
then
States or Hawaii
yeah,
or yeah.
that's what I mean, right? It's kind of when you chuck in a third time zone, that's when it gets real difficult
For
to find
example,
it.
to explain to everybody, right now it's 10:30 p.m. here in Japan. What time is it there?
It's 1:30 in the afternoon.
Oh, jeez, like totally
Totally
opposite.
different. Hawaii's the harder one because it's like literally what 12, 13 hour difference.
Yeah,
So it's
Hawaii's right now would be about 3 in the morning,
yeah,
three
so
thirty in the morning.
it's a bit of a challenge to kind of navigate those ones, but we do. We make it work. So I hope people appreciate that. Just because it's yeah, it's sometimes it's complicated, especially when we're trying to get a guest on and we have to work out which time zone how we're going to do this.
Oh,
But
yes, Sally was also a good one.
yeah, definitely.
Nishiki.
Yeah, yeah, he was great. He was he's someone I want to do one in person with. Next time I'm in Japan, see if we can get that scheduled
Oh, for
in.
sure. Let's set that up for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
we'll do it when
hopefully,
we have a barbecue at the house.
yeah, that sounds good. Because yeah, I think whilst it is a challenge to do stuff digitally, like, I love the stuff we did face to face. When we were in Japan, we actually got to like record a few episodes. We did the one about the Pride contract. And what was
Mhm.
amazing was actually going through with you some of those boxes and seeing some of the stuff, seeing the negotiations.
We have
Really,
back in the day, we did it on fax.
yes. Yeah, really, really, really fascinating. And on that note, future guests, we've been talking about one day maybe getting Saki Kabara on. I'd love to hear kind of in his own words what you were like to deal with back in the day. Like just kind of
That would be
just to,
interesting. That would be interesting.
it would be really cool to see that. So hopefully we'll set that up at some point, maybe later in the year. Maybe even in person
Next time
actually
I
when I
see
come to
him, I'll
Japan.
mention it to him.
Yeah, maybe it's when we wait actually, and when I come to Japan, we could do it in person or something.
And
Just see.
we can have Shingo, the matchmaker, translate for us.
Yeah, he's a busy guy, always doing the translations for everyone, I think.
But he's got perfect English, perfect Japanese.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
His English might be better than mine.
Yeah. Nice. And yeah, so lots of good stuff to look out for. I think, we talked about how fun it is going back on your career. But what's actually really fun on the podcast as well is kind of documenting and hearing about Tsushi's career as well, just because it's been quite a big part of your life, training him. You put in all this work as well to get in. So it's really fun hearing how his career plays out through the podcast, just because the people that know will hear that, when we're leading up to a fight, I'll ask you kind of how the training's going. And then after the fight, we'll typically talk about how it went. So we do really in-depth look. And I'm excited to not just do that for him, but to do it for some of your other guys as well.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. You know who we got to get on? Did we ever have Sarah on the podcast before? We did.
Once.
Did we get to talk about doing that like that? Oh, shit.
We need to do another one with Sarah.
We talked about it then, but the persona I have, and for her, the way she sees it from her side, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Like she was telling me something today that I didn't really see, because we saw like Mike Tyson saying something about Floyd Mayweather.
Okay.
And when I was watching that, I was watching and saying like, "Holy fuck, who's gonna freaking tell Mike Tyson what the fuck are you saying?" And she kind of said, "Oh, that's kind of how you are in Japan." Like what? Yeah. So for me, it was kind of neat to think, "Oh wow, I never did realize that it was to that extent." I knew people were kind of hesitant to, tell me off or correct me, but to that extent of comparing it to like the what Mike Tyson, that respect and that, I don't know, that aura that Mike Tyson has, is where you don't want to really. I'm saying, Floyd Mayweather is like sharp and talks back to everybody, but how is he gonna talk back to Mike Tyson now?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I saw that. So I think firsthand, just people around you, like when we were face to face, like in Thailand, face to face in Japan, the way Japanese people kind of deal with you is like super respectfully. And yeah, I think Sarah's on the money with that take.
The thing is, it's actually sometimes it's a crutch, because we call it the Enson pass, where I could meet someone for the first time and he's like the nicest guy, and then we find out later he's not. He's a dick, but because he was talking to me, he was on his best behavior. So sometimes it's a kind of interferes with you really getting a good read on a person.
I didn't look at it that way. That is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone's nice. Everyone's nice.
Yeah. Because I always feel like you're so transparent with who you are. You just literally is you. But yeah, often people aren't like that, right? They kind of portray something. Yeah. And
sometimes something about me is I can make a dick be really nice.
That sounds so wrong.
Well, I was gonna say make an asshole seem pretty nice, but that even sounds worse.
These are
the blooper right here.
Yeah. I might lose my shit.
Something about me, I can turn a not very nice person to a very polite person.
Yeah,
that's better.
That is better. I might have to keep what you said in before because it's so funny. Please, no one clip that.
Oh my
God. Yeah, no, I could see that. I could definitely see that, how people behave around you differently, right? And then actually different to who they are as a person. So, I mean, I hate to say this, but you've had quite a few instances with people like that in the past, right? Where they almost portrayed themselves as someone and then later down the line kind of showed a different version of themselves. I don't want to name any names, but I know you've had that with quite a few people, and we've talked about it. We did actually an episode on dealing with liars. I forgot about that when the whole Amber Heard trial was going on. You know, it was that was huge, wasn't it? And then we thought, let's talk about some liars and kind of how you deal with them. So that's a really interesting episode to check out as well. We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the future, maybe.
Yeah. The future is I'm really excited to see what's happening with Breaking Down. I'm trying to be more do what I can to help promote it, to help build it, because I think it's a good movement to get gangsters off the street and get them to train and possibly have an opportunity to actually make a career out of fighting for them. So I'm really into that. So Breaking Down is something that I'm really looking forward to seeing how it's going to go. We're not trying to, but we're slowly starting to get this fight team going, and it's amazing. We're getting like good kids, man. So I just met up with a sumo guy, an ex sumo guy came and wanted to meet. I met him at the gym. I get this feeling that this guy's really like a tough kid, man.
Yeah.
Look how big he is.
He looks massive. Yeah, his fist looks huge.
Yeah, so that's exciting. We're gonna see how he comes out, what type of attitude he has, what type of training he can do. Apparently he's done karate and judo, so that's interesting. So that's another thing that how is that gonna go?
Yeah.
And of course, a trip to Thailand in March.
Yep. Might be joining you.
Yeah, of course, Champions Gym. I have a friend up there that is I guess you could say that one of the princes. He's a prince of Thailand, and we're going to get to probably hang out with him. So looking forward to that. Really nice guy. We met in Japan and everything clicked so well. It felt so comfortable to just be with him. He does a lot of charity work in Thailand. I do a charity work here. I want to try and do something with him up there. So, I mean, a lot of things to look forward to.
Lots of good stuff. And we've talked about future guests. Obviously, you mentioned Mark Kerr. There's a big one, as people know, we're coming up to other big fights in Enson's career. And one of them is Mr. Igor Vorchanchin. So we, behind the scenes, have been talking about different ways of how we could potentially do that episode. So there's lots of roadblocks with the fact that there's a big war going on in Ukraine right now. And obviously Igor, I think, has been quite involved with that. But if anyone has any ideas or plans or how they'd like to see that episode, please let us know, right in the comments, message us. Because it's such an iconic fight that I think we need to do something special for it. So let us know what you guys would like to see. But yeah, lots of exciting stuff happening in the future. I'm excited for the next 100 episodes. I think we'll probably get there as well, and I can't wait to see what happens next, because it is.
I can see us saying, "Oh my God, can you believe it's already episode 200?"
Yeah,
we're just talking about 100.
Yeah, I know, right? And I'm excited to see what travel we get out of it as well, like where we go next. So, yeah, please keep supporting this. We've had a lot of views go up in the recent last couple of episodes. So please help to get the word out and like and share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll throw it over to my amigo to close it out.
All right. And yeah, thanks for supporting the channel. I think we have a lot of interesting topics to talk about. So check out all the old podcasts that we did. Got a 99 other ones to look up, so check it out. And thank you for the support. Share, spread the word. I think a lot of people don't know that I have a podcast, so hopefully you guys can spread the word and let everyone know that we're here.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
That was a good episode. If you guys have any other content you want me to talk about, or anything, you have any questions, write them in the comments. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Right on, everybody. Thanks for the support.